Continuing on here, yes, I then talked about some of these ideas with the people in the room at the time. And somebody says, what main topics do you touch on in the book? And just off the top of my head, right at that moment, I said the nature of time, memes, free will versus hard determinism, the role of creativity in all this. It's very diverse. And that was the discussion that was happening then. That continued on with someone named Brandon who had some really good questions about quantum physics and reading books like Elegant Universe. And this is certainly something I want to underline here. If you're hoping to learn about string theory, please go talk to a string theory expert. I'm exploring ideas that relate to all of that, but I'm not trying to teach people, because what I'm talking about is something that that explores a much more diverse range of ideas than that, and some of them are just too out there for mainstream science to be willing to acknowledge right now, which is fair enough. I'm a composer, not a physicist, and I'm interested in creative exploration of ideas. So that's one of the things that I do have to underline from time to time, because people sometimes criticize this project as saying that I'm trying to make some sort of a scam happen here where I'm trying to mislead people about science. Not at all. There are things about mainstream science that do tie in very nicely with what I'm talking about, but the way that I'm tying all this stuff together is still a creative exploration, and it's fun to think about. But if you want to try to go back to your physics teacher in the university class and say, Rob Bryanton says this, don't be surprised when your physics teacher says, that's not real, because what I'm exploring is much bigger than that. The person I was talking with, Brandon, asks about some of the books that and concepts that I've been exploring. I mentioned Minsky's Society of Mind, Dawkins' concept of selfish genes and selfish memes. I also mentioned one of my favorite books, The Origin of Consciousness in the Breakdown of the Bicameral Mind, which is something we haven't talked about very much in this video blog, but it's an important part of what we're discussing here as well, because it relates very strongly to the nature of consciousness and how there might be things coming to us from the other dimensions that are related to our understanding of consciousness, and that we might really just be a large connection of memes that are all interacting with each other. Moving on to the next day, again, we got somebody writing in saying, is this live? And at that moment I happened to be there, so I just wrote back, this video is a recording, but I'm typing live. And the person who was in the room at that time, Rick, asked a few questions about gamma ray bursts and black holes, and asked if this question, if his question was related to the ideas I'm exploring. We have talked a little bit about dark matter and dark energy, but again, that would probably be something better left to an expert to discuss. I did get into an interesting discussion with Rick just then, but I also cautioned him that what we were talking about was still just us playing with ideas, and not something that should be construed as me trying to be a physics teacher. Then my good buddy John spent some time, and let's see, I'm just looking here. Looks like he talked for about an hour, just making his comments into the end of the room. John is a fascinating guy who definitely deals with some of the ideas that are explorations that we start from, but he takes it in some amazing ways that are pretty fun. He just bought the book and is reading it right now. So this day he writes in, so let's just read through some of the stuff he says. So E is infinite energy, and MC squared is our limit of perceiving this energy in our 4 spatial dimensions over time. Or is it 5 dimensions? I can never keep up with modern physics. And he says, and yeah, Rob, my family is competing to read your book, laughing out loud. I find it more useful to chill on the forums than in here. And think about the intro loop on your DVD. It would continually make sense. People would watch the intro for like 3 hours before getting to the real content of the DVD. I haven't been in here for a while. Nice to chat to the video loops, and this is one of the things John has been doing, which I'd encourage more people to do, because that's the thing is there are all sorts of extensions of ideas that can be branched to at any moment from the stuff that's happening here. And if you're in the 10thdimension.com/chat window, there's also all those videos over to the right. And if you've already seen the show that you're watching in the left-hand window, and you'd like to talk to each other about what's happening in some of the videos that have been posted over to the right, then by all means, just turn the volume down on me, and I'll keep moving my mouth without making any noise, and you can discuss with each other some of the other things. Just scrolling on here, John gets into the video for secret societies, and he says it reminds me of the Discordia pages. Have you checked those out? The concept is linked to dachymetry, my theory is. And I asked him if that was related to the Illuminati trilogy. I've read a little bit more, and it turns out the Illuminati trilogy is actually related back to those concepts, and that it was a creative exploration of taking just about every conspiracy theory in the world and trying to roll it all together. The Illuminati trilogy is pretty fun to read, though, if you're looking for a creative exploration of how we got to this moment in time, and the conspiracies that might have got us here. That's a great book to read. John then says, my theory is that women are perfect circles, or can be represented as such, and males are angular and go from line to angle to triangle, and from there it's a gradual progression from triangle to anagon. In other words, a shape that has just a particular number of dimensions that aren't defined, in order to fill the circle. Very, very organic way of looking at geometry. I write back to him and ask him if he knows about the original Flatlanders book. That's one of the books that I've referred to from time to time here. My concept in the 11-minute animation of Flatlanders being two-dimensional creatures actually started from that book, Flatland. And in that book, two-dimensional creatures' social standing is determined by the number of sides they have. By the time you get to more and more sides, you keep getting circles or shapes that approach a perfect circle, and a perfect circle would be something that actually has the absolute maximum number of sides. Fun ideas to play with, and it reminds me too of one of the things that I talked about in the blog, which is the idea that Einstein agreed we're in the fifth dimension. And you know, if you see it, space-time, when people show images of space-time, and then they talk about gravity being a bending of space-time, if we're calling this flat space-time now the fourth dimension, if you bend that fourth dimension with gravity, what are you bending into? You're bending the fourth dimension into the fifth dimension. I think that's an easy way to think about what we're talking about here. That we really are in the fifth dimension rather than the fourth. But those are all ideas that we can save for another time. So I'm going to wrap up today with the song that we were going to talk about change and renewal, which is a blending of a bunch of ideas, including the idea that water is one of those multidimensional shapes, another spine that you can think of, all the water that connects each of us to each other, and us through time and space to life itself, is part of one of the exploration ideas that we're working in. Have you had your water today? Make sure you drink lots of it. That might be where you're going to get your next new idea. Thanks for now. This is Rob Bryanton, Imagining the 10th Dimension.